Thank you for watching. I watched a debate, and here are my thoughts. A summary. This was Kent Hovind versus Mr. Archaeopteryx. It was hosted by the YouTube channel Modern Day Debates, and Kent Hovind lost this one. Usually Kent Hovind wins the debates, and I'm not saying that just because I agree with him on a lot of things, but he really usually does have good logic and good facts to back up what he's saying. Okay. Mr. Archaeopteryx, his real name came up. Oh, the subject of the debate was, is evolution dangerous? Where I believe Kent Hovind lost the debate is he did not stick to the topic well enough, and Mr. Archaeopteryx stuck to the topic. So, let's see, he talked about where he lived. He's apparently lived in some of the same cities that Kent Hovind has lived in. And he claimed that Kent Hovind makes misrepresentations of what, like, Adolf Hitler believed, or why Adolf Hitler did what he did. Kent gave his usual short bio. They opened dangerous, and let's see, what was the opening? Mr. Archaeopteryx went through. He found Kent's previous videos and seminars where Kent talked about this subject. Let's see, dangerous. Yeah, so dangerous religion. Oh, he claimed Kent should not call evolutionism a religion. He claims it's not a religion, like Pluto's orbit. Pluto's orbit's not a religion. Let's see. He claimed Aaron Ra had refuted Kent Hovind. He claimed Adolf Hitler was using natural selection and artificial selection, which is microevolution, speciation, and Adolf Hitler was not trying to create a different kind, and if he was trying to create a different kind, then that would be macro, but since Adolf Hitler was just trying to use natural selection to create what Adolf Hitler thought was the perfect human, that is micro-selection, that is microevolution. He claimed micro and macroevolution are the same thing. He accused Kent Hovind, when Kent Hovind accuses Adolf Hitler of loving evolution, of never quoting Adolf Hitler on that. He talked about eugenics being only microevolution, that eugenics is just trying to weed out the inferior and genetically corrupted people to perfect the species, and not to create a whole different species, a whole different kind of animal. He brought up that Kent Hovind claims creationists were the first to identify natural selection. He claimed Kent Hovind and other creationists advocate for eugenics. Let's see. He quoted, Kent Hovind has written several books or essays where Kent Hovind has a hypothetical discussion with a real person. Kent Hovind obviously never talked to Adolf Hitler. He's not that old, never lived in the same place. And in these books, Kent Hovind is not claiming that he got in a time machine, but it just, from what he can research about what the people believed about things, that he writes these essays or books where he has a conversation. He wrote one where he talked with Adolf Hitler. And yeah, Mr. Archaeopteryx brought that up. Let's see, quotes, and I guess he claimed that Kent was misrepresenting what Adolf Hitler believed in that essay or book. Let's see, he quoted from Adolf Hitler. Two of the quotes were from the Table Talks, and another one was from Mein Kampf. The Table Talks was, I haven't bought that book yet, I've looked for it, I would like to get that book. It is quotes from people who knew Adolf Hitler, who saw him in action, the people that were close to him that survived World War II, about what Adolf Hitler said, like, not his speeches to a big crowd, but what he said to, you know, around the table with his friends or confidants. So that book is, we can be less certain about Adolf Hitler being quoted accurately in that book. What if somebody wanted to make him look really bad or really good or something different than what he really was? Let's see, he claimed Hitler, Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed Hitler quoted somebody named Arthur de Gobineau, a French aristocrat, novelist, and biblical creationist. And so since he's a biblical creationist and he liked eugenics, that's Mr. Archaeopteryx's claim is that evolution is not dangerous because it's not why Adolf Hitler did the stuff that he did. Let's see, there's a man named Houston Stewart Chamberlain who in 1899 wrote a book, The Foundations of the 19th Century, which was in favor of eugenics or taught racial superiority. One thing Kent should have done, or Mr. Archaeopteryx, just because somebody believes something doesn't prove their religion actually teaches that. And Mr. Archaeopteryx, even if these were people who claimed to be biblical creationists who believe something, if what they believe is contradictory to what's in the Bible, then you can't blame Christianity or the Bible for what those people are believing. Hans Gunther was Adolf Hitler's race pope. Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed that Darwin's books were banned by the Nazis and banned in Germany. Alright, then Kent had his opening statement. He thanked Mr. Archaeopteryx for coming. He made the claim that evolution is dangerous because it's based on lies. He called it stupid, like he usually does. It's not scientific. It's evolutionists don't claim. We can see it happening now. See, there is what we're claiming. They're saying you can't see it because it happened long ago and far away. Okay, long ago, not far away. That's Star Wars. Star Wars introduction to the movie starts out long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. And that makes it easy to put long ago and far away together, even if only one of those is what you want to say. Okay, so one weakness in Kent's position, it's possible to lie about something that's not dangerous. One example is if a parent encourages their child to not be unchaste and over-exaggerates or lies about how easy it is to get pregnant. It's not dangerous or harmful if a parent tells a child that if you make out or you get down to only your underwear with your date, that causes pregnancy. Okay, it doesn't literally cause pregnancy, but it gets you on the way, because making out is a lead-in to sex. So it's not a dangerous lie, because people can still have a fun date without making out and getting into their underwear. Okay, Kent went through different lies. The Grand Canyon, it could not have been made slowly over long periods of time. A river would not move, a slowly moving river would not move that much rock. Kent's position about the Grand Canyon is it is a washed out spillway that immediately after the flood that we read about in the book of Genesis, that there was a huge lake covering most of Colorado and Arizona. And when rain and melting snow made the lake rise up to where it overflowed this dam, a bunch of, a natural earth dam, it just washed everything out, because that would be a lot of water, and that much water could have the energy to, wash out a canyon. Okay. There is no fossil record, Kent claims, and he's got a good point there. When you dig up a bone in the ground, it doesn't have a label 65 million years ago. People are doing some interpreting of the bones, and it's not crystal clear. There's not only one possible conclusion for an honest person to come to. Kent pointed out that adding time does not help things get better, but evolution says time makes everything happen. Give us billions of years and we'll get everything. Adding energy. Some evolutionists say, no, energy from the sun is why everything happens, but Kent gave examples in war when different countries added a lot of energy to other countries, and nothing got created there, just destroyed. Kent pointed out the present is the key to the past as a slogan of evolutionism, but there's some reasons to doubt that all of our geologic formations on the Earth come from the slow processes that we see happening now. Kent Hovind pointed out the geologic column doesn't really exist. And there are rocks and there are fossils, but if there should be like 100 miles thick of dirt is what Kent says if there's that geologic column. But the different fossils and kinds of rocks are probably different habitats, the pre-flood habitats. Because if there's a worldwide flood, things would probably get buried where they lived, together. Things wouldn't get all mixed up like in a small little mixing bowl, how you mix up all the batter for a cake and you can be confident everything's mixed up. Well, that's a small bowl. Get the whole world and things won't get mixed up that well. Ken pointed out the lie about lobe-fin fish. Lobe-fin fish have been taught for a long time by the religion of evolutionism to be the half fish, half reptile. The link, the partially evolved or unfished, partially evolved first land animal, that those lobe fins were good for walking. But actually lobe-fin fish, the coelacanth, lives in very deep water, so those lobes fins are not for walking. And they're alive and well today. Kent Hovind brought up the lies about gill slits, which is still taught today. That a human baby goes through, what I look at as a human baby, what others would call a fetus, inside the mother goes through the entire evolutionary cycle. It's a little fish, it's a little lizard and stuff, and it has gill slits when it's developing. Okay. Then it was time for their rebuttals. Mr. Archaeopteryx said he was thrown off because Kent did not stick to the subject and he was not expecting Kent to, do that. He said Kent was using the same script, yeah. If Kent does a debate, I think Kent should, do the debate topic. And he did not do that this time. He did his usual presentation. Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed that it's been explained to Kent that evolutionism does not say, well, is proven when a dog gives birth to a dog. That is bizarre to me. How can he make such a claim? If all animals having a LUCA, the UCNA, I mean Universal Common Ancestor, is it last universal? One common ancestor that is a single cell animal. If everything has that, proof of that would be things, different things being born. It would not be the same things being born. That is really bad logic there, but Kent did not refute it. Example of, to apply that same bad logic to something else, imagine if I say, I can drive from Maine to France because my car goes, I can get it to go east. So what? There's water there. Now, if I would, drive over a small lake, then that would show it can go over water. The big change. But he's metaphorically driving a car a mile on dry ground and saying it can drive it over the ocean. You didn't prove anything by that. Okay, he brought up cheetahs. Mr. Archaeopteryx accused Kent of doing what evolutionists do. Because evolutionists say everything's, it's always going to be the same kind it always was. The first animal was a eukaryote. And pine trees and oak trees and mosquitoes and elephants and lizards and fish are all eukaryotes. That is stupid and dishonest. That's not the same kind. That's not what an honest person means when they say kind. But his example of that is Kent believes that because of speciation, there might have been a lot less species a few thousand years ago when Noah got off the ark. And that's why the story of Noah's Ark is plausible. It could have really happened because speciation. So cheetahs are a big cat. They're the cat kind. But Kent would always say they're going to produce cheetahs. Kent did not give an answer to that one. Maybe I should put a comment in the video. But I don't think Kent really thinks what Mr. Archaeopteryx accused him of there. My best guess, and this is an educated guess based on watching thousands of hours of Kent Hovind, is Kent Hovind believes it's possible that cheetahs will speciate so much that we will call in another 100 years from now, the thing that comes from cheetah speciation a whole different species, and not call it a cheetah, southern cheetah, tall cheetah, short cheetah, but something that doesn't have the word cheetah in the name. Another example of animals still being the same kind is, according to Mr. Archaeopteryx, humans are apes. He claims that the Colorado River did not flow uphill like Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind's claim is that the Colorado River, well, the Grand Canyon is higher at the beginning of it than at the Grand Canyon is high. Which end of it's higher? But for the Grand Canyon to have been formed slowly over millions of years, the water would have needed to flow uphill for millions of years to carve it out because of how high the canyon is. Hey, Kent's got a really good point there. Mr. Archaeopteryx claims that it is continental uplift. So the Colorado River slowly carves the canyon and then the ground lifted up around the canyon. Fossil record, Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed that the fossil record is real, and all these animals really are millions of years old. He claimed that new information does happen. It has been witnessed. Genetic increase. Yeah, genetic information increases because genetic duplication. No, but he never proved an example. He never talked about an example where we know a whole different body part came about in one generation. That's what you would need, a whole body part to come about, because a half a body part is going to mean extra weight, wasted energy of the body. It's going to hinder survival. It's going to make something less fit. It's going to make something less likely to out-survive its competitors who have full body parts and aren't dragging around a half of something. Okay. Now, Kent Hovind had his rebuttal. He talked more about the gills and found textbooks and modern websites that say that humans have gills when they're babies, proving he did not lie about that. He asked if Mr. Archaeopteryx believes that fetuses are a human. Pointed out that in 1869 is when Ernst Haeckel made up the lie about human gill slits and the embryology. Phylogeny capitulates ontology. Ontology capitulates phylogeny. But the belief that the human fetus goes through the entire evolutionary process inside of the womb. Ernst Haeckel lied. He drew pictures that did not match up with reality. And Kent Hovind had a slide with the pictures of what the fetuses of the different animals really look like, and Ernst Haeckel's pictures, and they do not match up at all because he is a liar. And he was proven wrong in 1874, but that lie is still in the textbooks. Kent Hovind talked about, Kent Hovind believes there's a new world order run by the devil that wants to own the whole world and limit the human population to 500 million. I'm not in agreement with Kent about all this crazy conspiracies that he believes. He went through the 6 meanings of evolution and pointed out that one thing that's if evolutionism is true, then you can't have a good moral standard. It gets in the way of having a moral standard, which is a good thing to have. How do you know murder is immoral? If evolution's true, that's just somebody trying to outcompete and out-evolve another. Then it was time for the cross-examination. Mr. Archaeopteryx switched microphones because there was a tapping with his first microphone he was using. That tapping became less with the new microphone, and Kent pointed out that he just evolved. And then Mr. Archaeopteryx said, if you know what evolution means, you wouldn't say that. This cross-examined. So he asked Kent if the Nazi eugenics was a microevolution. Kent Hovind found some quotes from Adolf Hitler that back up Kent Hovind's claims, and a chart of what Adolf Hitler believed about which races are closer to being ape. But Kent Hovind failed in this debate on this point because he could have said, and he did not. Kent Hovind has a stronger position, but he did not use that stronger position, so I can't say he won this debate. But this chart, it doesn't just say superior, inferior. It says more like ape, more like ape, more like ape, semi-ape, really close to apes, things like that, or synonyms of that. Most like ape. So it's comparing them to apes, or accusing them of being apes, that chart that Adolf Hitler agreed with and liked. And Kent quoted the Bible that says everyone is of one blood, which is a great anti-racism statement from the Bible and refutes anyone who accuses the Bible of being racist and refutes any Bible believer who is racist. Mr. Archaeopteryx asked something about macro or microevolution for a definition of them. Kent Hovind said that different skin color is just a variety, and it's not, Kent's point was it's not important enough different skin color to call it a different category if people have different skin colors. So Mr. Archaeopteryx hammered home the point, eugenics equals microevolution. Kent Hovind showed his list. Alright, Mr. Archaeopteryx quoted Kent Hovind. He did his homework on this one, Mr. Archaeopteryx. He looked at videos of Kent to find out what Kent believes. Let's see. So Kent has said that there's a mean gene, maybe, and we'll have less people doing violent crimes if we execute the people who do extremely violent crimes. And Mr. Archaeopteryx accused Kent of being a eugenicist because of that. That would be an accurate accusation if Kent Hovind wanted the death penalty for that reason of clearing out the mean people only. Kent, I think he might want the death penalty because it just makes sense and this is the only reasonable punishment sometimes. But he didn't make that point clearly. He did talk about how, Kent made the argument for the death penalty because he gave the example of rape. If a woman is raped with our current system where we don't execute rapists, we only put them in prison, that rape victim is paying for her rapist's groceries. And that's one good argument for the death penalty. So a victim of a crime is not paying for the groceries of the person who... That's like punishing the person all over again. Okay, Kent demanded an example of new information, and Mr. Archaeopteryx asked, are you asking for new information or a flying horse? Because Kent gave the example of if there's no limits to what natural selection can do, then we should not see the Kentucky Derby winning race time plateau. We should see it, keep going down and down and down. But it's plateaued. I mean, there's some slight variation by, a second more, a second less, but it's not working its way down. Let's see. And yeah, Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed that it has been shown to Kent. Okay. No, it hasn't. Nobody has shown Kent whole body parts being the result of genetic mutations, which is needed to go from a single cell animal that does not have cooperating cells. It does not have heart, lungs, stomach, skin, immune system, eyes, mouth, ears, brain, central nervous system, fur, feathers. Mr. Archaeopteryx accused Kent of wanting... Kent found some biologists that disagree about something. What are they disagreeing about? Alright. Yeah. So biologists disagree about whether something is the same species or things like that. And then Kent went through a list of examples of body parts that amoebas don't have that you need to get. And you don't have evidence that you could get that by natural selection if you haven't witnessed it. Storytelling is not proof. If it is, then Harry Potter's real. Okay, Mr. Archaeopteryx, they said, you want an amoeba to go from a mammal in one step? Well, getting a whole body part would be proof that it can happen. Right now, Mr. Archaeopteryx was not able to cite one example of a whole body part coming by natural selection and mutations. Okay. And Mr. Archaeopteryx pointed out that they were straying off of the topic. That's true there. Could evolution, the story be true, and is it dangerous are two different subjects. Let's see. Millions of years. Yeah, but after he pointed out it's off topic, he claimed there's millions of years, 8 million years of process. Kent Hovind pointed out you must believe in Luca. You can't say that it's been proven or witnessed or observed. It's a belief. Mr. Archaeopteryx cited the algae that turned into a colony. Algae were not turned into a multicellular animal. It was just a cluster of algae cells. And Kent Hovind pointed out that's a colony, and sponges are still a colony. Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed Kent's been told. Then they had the Q&A section. Yeah. First question accused Aaron Ra of refuting Kent Hovind, and was complaining about sometimes people were complaining that Kent did not refute or answer all of Aaron Ra's accusations. Aaron Ra made a lot of videos, Kent made a lot of videos. I think Kent answered everything that could be answered. But Kent offered, if there's something he missed, to send it to his secretary, which thing that Aaron Ra claimed that Kent did not refute, and Kent will do it. There was a question about, in the past 10 years, are there any textbooks that make that claim that a human embryo has gills? And Kent pointed out he was locked up in prison for a long time, and that hindered his textbook collecting. But he will look into it. Before the video was done, the Kent's background people found a textbook that said it, a 2017, so that's a recent textbook, that says embryos have gill slits. Yeah. And there was a question about Kent's education. Kent Hovind pointed out that's not relevant to the debate. Mr. Archaeopteryx said he agreed it's not relevant, but Kent should stop calling himself doctor. That's a stupid comment by Mr. Archaeopteryx. Doctor could just be a fun title, a catchy title for somebody who makes educational videos even if they don't have a doctorate degree. So it's alright if you call yourself doctor if you're educating people and you don't have a doctorate degree. But Kent Hovind pointed out he has 4 doctorate degrees, 3 earned, 1 honorary. There's a question about a syllogism, but people didn't understand what the question was about. And no. Mr. Archaeopteryx claimed that they are called gills. He didn't think it's wrong to call the things gill slits on an embryo, which never have been gills, never will be gills, because they look enough like gills. But people aren't calling them that because they look like gills. They're saying they are gills. But he asked if Kent will stop calling the tailbone a tail since we don't have a tail. I see a big difference between calling the tailbone a tailbone and calling things that are never gills, gills. And it's just what we've been calling it for hundreds of years, a tailbone. So Might just have to go with that since that's what everyone knows it as. Okay. So one of Kent's claims was that evolution is used to commit abortion. It's a justification. Because it's not really a human until it's born, because it's going through the evolutionary stages, so it's a fish when it's early on, not a human. Mr. Archaeopteryx wants papers, quotes from Planned Parenthood or other abortion advocates saying that Kent did not have quotes from them that he put up at least. Kent asked if the child inside the mother is a human, and Mr. Archaeopteryx said yes. Kent asked about killing it, and Mr. Archaeopteryx identified himself as not pro-abortionist. Kent suggested we should arrest the mother, and Mr. Archaeopteryx pointed out that was off topic, debating what to do about a mother who has an abortion. That's not directly related to is abortion dangerous or not. I mean, is evolution dangerous or not? Okay. A very stupid person asked, how is forcing pregnancy moral? Kent could have answered this different than he did. I would have asked, well, I would have just pointed out if I was Kent, Kent's not arguing for forcing any pregnancies. That would be rape. Forcing a woman to get pregnant is rape. But Kent, he did have a response to this that wasn't too bad. Kent pointed out that we force somebody to raise a child now. And Kent said it's equally moral. Forcing a woman who's pregnant already, who chose to get pregnant, to carry that child to term, and forcing people who have created a child to pay for that child and raise the child until the child's an adult. Alright, there was a really good question from Mr. Archaeopteryx here that he failed to answer. Failed to give a decent answer for him. He didn't, refuse to say words. If the human genome acquired 2 billion base pairs in 3.5 billion years, that's what the religion of evolutionism teaches, that is one base pair for every 1.56 years. So, there should be there's a rate of change that we can see there. But it stayed the same for many thousands of years now. Hey, great question. If it's supposed to be constantly changing, why don't we see that now? You see, sometimes seeing something now can be a good evidence of the past. I see airplanes every day flying around now. That's proof that a few years ago airplanes could also have flown around. There's an example of see it now, proof about the past. But we aren't seeing these changes now that evolutionism claimed were happening in the past. He claimed, no, there is new information, but he never really directly answered it. He asked, why does the amoeba have more DNA than a human? Is it more complex? Now, that's evolutionism that teaches complex and less complex, not creationism. And they had closing statements. Mr. Archaeopteryx pointed out that he watched Kent Hovind's seminars so he would be prepared for this debate, and he was prepared. And he answered Kent Hovind's previous accusations about this subject in Kent Hovind's seminar video. And he said he put more rebuttals on his channel. Kent Hovind's closing statement was, it's dangerous because of lies. But Kent never proved that lies in and of itself proves dangerous. Now, there are dangerous lies. Like Kent Hovind's lies that the people that want to give you immunizations are working for the New World Order to try to kill off everybody. That's a dangerous lie because people will get hurt by not getting vaccinated. So there's an example of a dangerous lie. But Kent did not prove that the lies about evolutionism are dangerous lies. He gave examples of other lies that he thinks are dangerous. Like if you lie to kids that 2 plus 2 equals 5, it's going to cause problems later on in their life. Or flat earth. He didn't prove that believing the flat earth is a dangerous lie, but he gave that as an example of a lie. Cripples kids mentally is his example or his explanation about how lies are dangerous. He called for people to send examples of useful information that is a result of genetic mutations, to send it to his secretary. And then he finally brought up the Columbine shooting. This was, I don't think we can count this as if we were scoring this, like a sporting event and keeping track of points. Kent Hovind, this number of a score. Mr. Archaeopteryx, this number, a quantifiable amount of points to make a measurable, objective contest out of it. We wouldn't be able to count bringing up the Columbine shooting in the closing statement when you didn't bring it up earlier in the debate. But it is a fact the Columbine shooters believed in the religion of evolutionism and were Democrats. So maybe society would be safer if Democrats were banned from having guns. But anyway, the Columbine shooters believed evolutionism. They believed the black people were less evolved, and they were eager to kill some of them. But Kent Hovind lost this debate, and thank you for watching. You have a good day.